All right, so just an overview. The goal of today's presentation is to present Motivity's vision for our upcoming feature of treatment plans and progress reports, to share this with our existing customers and also individuals who are interested in Motivity. Just a quick overview of Motivity for those of you who are not familiar. Motivity is a next generation data collection software that is dedicated to 99% uptime, no data loss, and a dedicated customer support and relationship experience. All right, so before I get started, I have a question for you. What do you think is the average time it takes a BCBA to complete a client's progress report from start to finish? And that includes the assessment time. Go ahead and put that in the chat. And this is going to be really interesting for us because we did a little bit of anecdotal research on this, but not a lot. I wanted to see how close we are in our number. Okay, so we're seeing, you guys can see in the chat, we have 5 hours, 6 hours, 6 hours, 15 hours, about 8 hours. With assessments, 10 to 14 hours, 10, 8 hours. Okay, yeah, okay. 10-ish. Yeah, it takes a lot of time. So I think our estimation based on anecdotal discussions with our customers seems pretty close. We estimated that it was about 6.5 hours for the time it takes to create progress reports. And we all know that we're not usually getting reimbursed for all this time. And that is a burden that organizations have to take on or BCBAs take on. And one of the things that at Motivity we're really looking hard at this problem and trying to, when we create our treatment plan feature, create it in a way where it's going to cut that time significantly down. So today, I'm gonna present our vision for our treatment plan feature that we're currently working on and that we're gonna be rolling out across the next few months, starting next week. Next week, we'll have our first rollout of the first piece of this feature. And as I go through it, I'll point out what that feature is that you'll be able to see next week. And then we'll also be reaching out to our customers to help them get that, start moving forward and getting that set up. All right. Go ahead and as I'm thinking about, if you have questions throughout the presentation, go ahead and put that in there, and I'll try and keep an eye on the chat. I might save it to the end if I know that question will be addressed later on in the presentation. But if it's something that I could answer right then, I will try to do that. All right. All right, so the current situation of writing progress reports. Real quick, you guys all know what this looks like. You get an intake, then you have an assessment of that learner. From the assessment, you're creating a treatment plan. Now you're creating that treatment plan usually in one or two places, in a word processor, like Microsoft Word, using some type of template from your organization, or in your current EHR software. And typically what that looks like is you'll have a template in your software, but then that treatment plan is then stored in some type of document sharing section of that website. Okay, so then once you've turned it in, you receive authorization, then you're going to go into another software, or possibly the same software, into a clinical section of that software and create the programs. And then start taking clinical data. And then 6 months later, now you have to create this progress report. And a lot of times you're scrambling, going back to this document storage section, looking for that treatment plan. Sometimes it's out of sight, out of mind over there, and possibly your programs and your clinical data have had a lot of scope creep. So now you're scrambling to find all of the data and the progress and the graphs and get it in there to meet all your payer requirements. Does that sound about right? And the problem with this is that there's a disconnected workflow. The data sharing between systems is not there. It's extremely time consuming. That treatment plan that is stored on a database or on your desktop is out of sight, out of mind, and the adherence, the programs and the treatment plan adherence, there might be problems there. All right, so this is our vision. And this is something that we're currently working on building, and this is where we want to receive feedback. And we will be rolling out the first part of this soon, and then incrementally releasing each of the other parts. So with this new vision in Motivity, same first step is assessment. Then from the assessment, you're going to create the treatment plan, but this time you're creating the treatment plan in the clinical section of Motivity. So each learner will have a clinical section that has all their data stored, their timelines, their session notes, all of that there. You're creating this treatment plan in the learner. So that's why we call it an embedded treatment plan. And then once you've created that treatment plan using this template that is designated to you, and we'll talk about templates later because that's a really important piece, you'll then receive your authorization for services. And then you're going to go back into Motivity, into that clinical section of the learner, and create the programs from the treatment plan. So the treatment plan and the programs are connected. And I'll show you more about what I mean there later. But what's nice is that the adherence to the treatment plan is very clear. It's clearly designed. So then you take your clinical data. As you're taking the clinical data, things change with the program or with the treatment plan. Goals need to be tweaked. New targets need to be added. Goals need to be broken down into sub-goals. When this happens, this needs to be tracked, and it's tracked within Motivity and then automatically embedded into your live progress report. And this progress report is being generated throughout the treatment plan period and not at the very end where you're scrambling to try and get this done. So I know that this is very conceptual here, so I'm going to try and show you some examples of what we've designed so far. Because we're still in the development side, we're going to show some screenshots and do our best to kind of help you visualize what this looks like. But with this, our goal is to streamline the workflow. You enter your learner's data once. That includes the treatment goals, all of the baseline mastery criteria is entered in once into one section of the software, and then it's embedded in, or then it's injected into the report. And then also it gets rid of that problem where the treatment plan is now not out of sight, out of mind. It's in your face every day, and that adherence to the treatment plan is more likely because you're seeing it all the time. Okay, so first step, before you can actually create a treatment plan or a report, the clinical directors at top level of your organization are going to need to create templates that are going to meet your payer requirements. For those, so this is the first step within Motivity. And for those of you familiar with Motivity, you'll understand this concept from our session note templates. So currently right now, you can create a session note template that meets payer requirements, and you can make that template look however you want. You can change it when things are updated, when you need to make tweaks to the template based on new requirements. Same thing with the report template. It will just have even more features than the session note template, such as being able to import charts and be able to inject information from your treatment goals that you've generated from the treatment plan. So once you have templates, so for example, you might have templates for TRICARE, maybe templates for Kaiser or Blue Cross, those then will be available for your BCBAs to use to create the treatment plans and reports. So that's the foundation that needs to be set up. And then once you have that, at the learner level, you then need to be able to create those goals that are based on the treatment plan, that are based on your assessments. So next step is BCBAs will then be able to go at the learner level and put in treatment goals. So here's a screenshot of Motivity. Those of you who are familiar with Motivity will notice that this is a learner profile here. So this is where you go to look at the notes for learners, your program, you look at your programs, your progress, and you can see there's a new card. And there's a card under programs in progress that says treatment plans. This is where, if we click here, we can go and you can create a number of treatment plans. You might have ABA treatment plan, you might have a speech therapy treatment plan, an OT treatment plan. But for today's purposes, we're going to see an example of an ABA treatment plan. So in a treatment plan, you then will set up domains, and usually those domains are specified by the structure or the payer, the payer's template. And so you would add those domains in, which based on the goal. So we have 5 communication goals, 1 social skills goal, and 3 receptive language. And then you can see under the communication section, we have 5 communication goals. And then you can see the numbers next to that are correlating to the number of targets that are linked within the data collection to that goal. Okay, so that would lead to the very next step. The next step from there would be, once you've created these goals, you would need to link the goals to actual programs and targets within data collection. Let me show you what that looks like. So in your treatment plan, you're going to have a list of goals. And then in your data collection system in Motivity, you're going to have a list of programs. This is where you're going to link the two together. This goal is linked to this program or these targets. So for example, if I go to, here's a screenshot of a program in Motivity. So this is a matching program. And in the matching program, this is an example of one target, okay? So matching sock and shoe. And when at the program level, this is where you would link your treatment goals. And you can see which programs are linked by, at the top right corner of the card, you'll see a trophy icon. And this trophy icon will indicate that there is a treatment goal linked to this program. And you can link it at the program level, or you can link it at the target level, or all at once. And then this is also where you can click on it and see which goal that is, and if you're on track, or if it needs to be modified. And then you can click on that button there and go right into the treatment goal interface and make those changes, or do a clinical update. All right, okay, so the next step. Every goal that is in Motivity will have a lot of information that needs to be injected to the report. Our goal is to get the time that you actually have to type out information in your report, significantly reduce that, so that this information is put in at the beginning or throughout the treatment period. So when you have to create the progress report, this information will just inject into the progress report. So for example, for every goal, it's gonna store unique data. So such as like the baseline information, including assessment baseline, generalization, mastery criteria. But one thing that is really important that's unique from other systems, and this is where it's going to really stand out, and that's that the concept of clinical updates. So instead of creating the treatment plan, let it sit there, forget about it. You can go into this section when you make changes to the treatment goal or to any procedures, or if you're adding or breaking down a goal into multiple targets, you would go to this section and add a clinical update. And then these clinical update entries can be added to future reports. So an example of this goal here is that Tommy will be able to tolerate music in a community setting. So you can see at the bottom of the user interface, all of the treatment goal targets that are linked. So he'll be able to listen to 30 seconds, 60 seconds. But if you have, let's say there's a clinical update or something that you wanted to change with this goal. So October 15th, we modified the goal to include tolerating headphones for 60 seconds. Now this clinical update is put in just in time during the actual update, but then can be inserted into the report. So then you don't have to go back and remember everything that you changed throughout the treatment period. All right. So you're using really what you're doing here, what it's changing is that you're using the treatment plan as a clinical tool to guide your clinical decisions rather than just a payer requirement. And then once your progress report is due, now you're generating the report versus sitting there and writing for hours and hours and hours. Since you have the template that specified your payer requirements, you've created all your goals, you've linked those goals to the targets, and now you've entered in clinical updates. Now, once you've defined that, you've been able to insert those into your report, and then the goal is that it should cut the time where you're just going in and reviewing and editing and then being able to submit. All right, so that's a lot of information. This is our vision. What we're looking for is feedback and questions. So that is the time now. Okay, so I do have a question about, thank you so much for your feedback. I'm not seeing that. I will cry tears of joy if this workflow can be a reality. I love that, Anastasia. Okay, so I'm glad that we're getting some positive feedback. So just like our SOAP notes, our templates, will we be able to create a treatment plan template? In that the answer is yes. That's what we're building right now, and it will be similar to the session note template builder, just have a lot more functionality. All right, Ashley, this is super awesome. Is there a printout coming for this? That is a great question. I will write that down because I am assuming the answer is yes, but I am not sure. That would make a lot of sense. Printouts. All right, great. Lots of questions. Okay. I'm curious about caregiver review of the plan. Is that possible within this? So currently right now, Courtney, you can assign permissions for caregivers to view certain parts of the system, and most likely that you can give them permission to see reports. So if that's what you're asking about, that should be pretty simple to set that up with your permissions. When we master a goal, what a goal that automatically appear on the report? When we master a goal, will that automatically appear? That depends on how you set up the template. But I believe in the template, you can set up a way for the status of the goal. It also depends on how you design your programs as well. So if the goal is the program, then you would be able to show that. But let's say the goal is multiple programs, you would need to display that differently. I hope that answered your question.
Hi, Emily, this is Rex. Can I jump in?
Yeah, of course. Thanks, Rex. This is the president of Motivity. Thank you for jumping in.
Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for attending and for your feedback. Emily, you did a great job with the presentation. A lot of the questions that are coming now are about the details of how the reports are going to get generated. And this is a work in progress for us right now. So as we build out the feature, we're going to be soliciting more feedback from everyone about the specifics of how it should work. We're taking this in a multi-stage approach. The first step is to allow you to create the treatment plan goals and to assign programs and targets to those goals. The next step, which we will be embarking on building over the next month, is the ability to specify in the template what should happen for each of these goals. So when you have a certain percentage of the targets for a particular goal have been mastered, you'll be able to specify what you want to show in the report for the targets that have been mastered. You might want to show a cumulative target mastered chart showing the number of targets that have been mastered for that goal. For targets that are currently active, you might want to show a performance chart for those targets so you can see how they're approaching mastery in terms of the target chart itself. So we're working right now on figuring out how the report template should allow you to specify what you want to appear for each goal based on the status of the targets for that goal. And we don't have that all figured out yet. And so we'll probably be asking for feedback as we get closer to that.
Yeah, so the first part of the release, which Motivity customers will be able to see next week or in the coming weeks, is you will be able to see that treatment goal card for your learner. And so you'll be able to now start adding treatment goals to the learner level to be able to start preparing for the next release, which would be starting to be able to link those goals to the programs. So you'll see some new changes to the UI, and we'll put out release notes describing them, but just giving you a heads up on what's coming first.
Anastasia asked, so the format and some of the information between the initial treatment plan and the updated plan progress report are different. How will you guys support the transition from one report format to another, or how do we address this? I think the progress report is in fact a different template than the treatment plan. The treatment plan will have a way of printing out the treatment plan so that you can submit that. The treatment plan will be a different template than the progress report. The progress report templates, you will create different ones for different providers if they have different formatting requirements or different details that need to be shown in them. And so I think that answers the question. It's a different template. Anastasia, does that answer your question? And then while we're waiting for that, the next question was, Evelyn, is there a way to import multiple goals from assessments, even if it's not in the template for that specific insurance company? I think that what you, I think that what the template is going to be specifying that the report template is going to specify that the goals that are in the treatment plan should be imported into the template and handled in a certain way. I do believe that you'll be able to remove certain goals if you don't want them to appear for some reason. As far as adding additional goals that were not part of the treatment plan, I'm not sure if the system's going to let you do that. I think you would need to add the goal into the treatment plan in order for it to appear in the report. So I'm not sure exactly how to answer that.
Yeah, I'm not sure if is that what you were asking, Evelyn?
I'm going to unmute you, Evelyn. See if I can do that, or ask to unmute if you want to talk.
Hey, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. So I was basically asking, so say we have a bunch of different insurance companies and so we're using the Vineland and the Peak, let's say. And so I was wondering if like the insurance company isn't specifically, if the like template that you're using for that insurance company, do you have to originally put Peak into that template in order for it to show up in the future? Does that make sense? I'm sorry. I guess it's hard to.
Well, I mean, first of all, right now, the assessments don't live inside Motivity unless you create programs for those assessments. So if you wanted to, I think that the reports will have narrative sections where you can cut and paste into those sections anything that you want from external sources.
Okay.
So you can certainly use that approach to put in whatever information you want from something that's not inside Motivity. At some point down the road, when we get to it, we would love to be able to support having assessments live in Motivity, standardized assessments that aren't programs that you've built yourself or are taken from our libraries. We do have this, we're planning on building a VB-MAP learning library that maps to VB-MAP assessment objects or criteria, but it's not the VB-MAP assessment itself. So I think that's going to be way in the future in terms of actually importing your assessments into Motivity.
Gotcha. Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Yeah, so Kendra said, I think offering support to organizations once this is rolled out would be helpful, similar to the support you're offering during the trial phase. So for support with creating templates, adding template goals, and making sure everything is connected, and for carrying over current Motivity targets into the system are connected to treatment plans. Kendra, absolutely. And I think any of our customers would vouch and say that that's definitely our philosophy as well. Our values are, we're not going to just release a feature and be like, all right, good luck. Like, we really are dedicated to providing a lot of resources and going over the release notes over Zoom with clinicians, providing videos, articles, presentations, so that this will be set up correctly from the beginning. I think that's also a really good benefit for rolling this out systematically, because we're not going to roll this out and be like, boom, all of a sudden now the whole treatment plan feature is there, because then that's a lot of work, because there's a lot of steps. One, you have to create the templates, which that will take some time working with the teams to get all those templates together. And then two, now you have to put in the treatment goals for every learner. And then you have to link the goals to the programs. And so instead of pushing that out all at once, we're incrementally pushing it out systematically, so that organizations will have like a little thing, like little bites that they, or little targets that they have to work on, instead of everything at once.
Courtney had a question. It says, in the templates, could we also pre-save descriptions that we use often, for example, of a specific assessment? And we are using the same infrastructure for session note templates. We're taking that and using it for report templates. So in the session note template infrastructure, you can currently put default text to appear in a text area. And so you would be able to leverage that. However, I think that's not flexible enough to fully meet what you're talking about. I think it would be nice to have the ability to choose from different blurbs of text and insert them. And that's something that we can consider expanding, adding once we get the basics down. Another thing that we could consider adding is the ability to automatically pull content from a previous report. So if a lot of what you wrote in the past is applicable in the current report, it would be nice to be able to easily pull that. Right now, you would be able to do that by copying and pasting manually from the other source.
And one thing that I didn't mention, and I'm surprised we haven't gotten any questions about it, but the graphs that you can import to the progress report can be customized on what you want it to look like. So that includes the time frame, if you want it to be target charts versus cumulative charts, also the formatting of the charts, if you want to aggregate the data by session, day, week, month, all of those things. So the importing charts will have a lot of flexibility.
Well, I see Anastasia and Courtney are asking if the copy paste is going to preserve the format of the source material. I think that we do a pretty good job at that. If it's a table, it will preserve the table. If there's boldface and italics, that should be preserved. However, I think that there are some instances where it might not look perfect. So it's hard to say if we have to take a look at what the sources that you're copying from to see what type of formatting is going to get preserved. That's something that's very tricky to handle properly, and so it would just be something to try out. And if that is something that's really important, we can prioritize trying to make that better. There's also the possibility of supporting pasting images, so you could take a screenshot of something that's formatted in a certain way and paste that, and then that screenshot would just be part of the report embedded in that element. We could look into that as well.
All right. This is a lot of great questions. I just also acknowledge the black and white graphing feature that is on our list of important features for the treatment plan. So I'll communicate that again to the engineering team. And
Ara asked about
yes.
editing graphs. I think once a graph is in the report, you'll be able to make changes to the graph using the same types of controls that you have now when you're looking at a graph live in Motivity, which is you can change the range that's being displayed, or update the spacing. For example, you can say, I want time-based spacing instead of uniform spacing. You can coalesce the points into weekly versus by session. But you won't be able to make arbitrary changes to the graph, like editing the graph itself as if you were editing a something inside Excel. So the types of changes will be limited to what our graph editing capabilities are.
Yeah, you can make edits to the actual data and edit the data, which would then change the graphs.
You know, the example is like someone just brought up, can you make the graphs black and white? That's a feature that we're adding to our graph capability so that you can make them black and white. So when there's certain types of things that people want to do to graphs, you let us know what they are. We add those to our list of features people are asking for, and it bubbles its way up to the point where we eventually build it. But we've been slowly adding features to our graph capabilities. For example, we just released a feature that allows you to split the graph based on the therapist who took the data. So you can now see one BT's data compared to another BT's data instead of having them always combined into the same series.
All right. Thanks so much for all your feedback and for attending and taking the time. Please keep an eye out for our email with the video and also with a survey that can give you more opportunities to provide ideas and feedback. All right. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, Emily.
Happy holidays and have a great week.
Happy holidays, everyone.